Picture this, it's 2003, and Valve is just weeks away from dropping the biggest video game on Earth, Half-Life 2. I mean, the hype around this release was absolutely biblical. But over in a quiet little village in Germany, a 21-year-old kid guessed a password, bypassed a firewall, and quietly stole the entire game right out from under them. It caused a massive $250 million panic, triggered an unprecedented FBI sting operation, and literally rewrote the rules of the internet. So today, we're going to break down exactly how the closest thing PC gaming has to a corporate horror movie actually went down, and how it secretly built the modern gaming industry as we know it today. Now, to really grasp the scale of this disaster, you have to look at the numbers. By 2003, Half-Life 2 had been in development for 5 long years. Valve was building an entire proprietary game engine from scratch, the legendary Source engine. And as you might guess, that kind of ambition, it's incredibly expensive. Valve was burning through roughly $1 million every single month just to keep the lights on and keep development moving. So, the internal pressure was definitely mounting by the day.
Part 1, the hype versus the reality. Valve wasn't just dealing with internal pressure either. They had made some massive public commitments. We're talking about a staggering $6 million endorsement deal with hardware manufacturer ATI. At the big E3 Gaming Expo, Valve promised a concrete September 30th release date and showed off this jaw-dropping physics demo that basically looked like the future of entertainment. But behind closed doors, the internal reality was a totally different story. The game was nowhere near done. It was honestly a comically unfinished mess, still years away from completion. So that September 30th date basically became a piece of corporate fiction just to keep the hype train moving. CEO Gabe Newell couldn't exactly tell the truth, but he didn't want to tell a clean lie either, so he just went radio silent. And that growing chasm between their public promises and the internal panic, it created the absolute perfect blind spot. Which brings us to part 2, keys to the kingdom. Enter Axel Jembe. He's a 21-year-old hacker from the Black Forest in Germany, and honestly, he was just tired of waiting for the delayed release. Axel was socially withdrawn, entirely self-taught, and actually already operating a highly destructive malware framework called Agobot, which was controlling hundreds of thousands of hijacked computers. He was literally a wanted man by cybersecurity task forces. Anyway, he decides to poke around Valve's network. And the crazy thing is, he didn't use some elite movie-style hacking tools to breach them. He literally just walked right through open doors. First, a misconfigured public server basically handed him a complete topographical map of Valve's entire internal network through an open DNS transfer. Next, he finds an unfirewalled side server belonging to a startup called Tangus, which was actually run by Gabe Newell's brother. It was vulnerable to a null session, which is just a leftover Windows feature that lets an unauthenticated user ask a server what it's hosting. So, once he's inside the network, he pivots straight to the domain controller, the central nervous system of the whole company. And get this, he finds a service account simply named Build that had absolutely no password. Just completely blank.
With that blank password, he dumps the hashed employee credentials and starts cracking them online. He actually managed to crack Gabe Newell's personal password in mere minutes. And you know what it was? Elira 2002. It's a reference to a rabbit chief from the novel Watership Down. A cute, literary, but incredibly weak password. So with that one word, Axel didn't just have a foothold. He had the literal keys to the kingdom.
Part 3, the ghost in the walls.
Now, most hackers, right, they grab the data they want and get out immediately before they're detected. But Axel didn't run. He actually moved in. He stayed completely hidden inside Valve's internal network for 6 entire months. By May 2003, he's doing his reconnaissance. By September 11th, he's installed custom keyloggers using an Outlook email exploit, and he's actively reading Gabe Newell's personal emails in real time. He's literally sitting there watching the dev team grind through these brutal crunch hours, knowing full well they're going to miss that September 30th deadline. On September 19th, knowing that standard transfer tools would probably crash the network and alert IT, he writes his own custom exfiltration software to silently siphon the game's source code over standard TCP. And then, finally, on October 2nd, the inevitable happened.
He compiles the stolen code right there in his bedroom, fully expecting to see the magic of that E3 demo. But instead, he gets missing textures, broken AI, and just a fractured, ugly alpha mess. That's when he realizes the whole E3 demo was an illusion. Feeling cheated, he shares this broken build with one trusted friend online under very strict conditions not to leak it. And, well, naturally, that friend immediately leaks it to the entire internet.
Part 4. The $250 million sting operation.
Suddenly, the illusion is completely shattered. Millions of fans are downloading this unfinished, broken game. The leak triggered a projected $250 million strategic loss for Valve. We're talking retail cannibalization, massive breach of contract liabilities for third-party software, and the indefinite extension of that million-dollar monthly burn rate. Faced with total catastrophe, Gabe Newell does something almost no CEO in the world would ever do. He logs into a Half-Life fan forum and just posts, "Ever have one of those weeks?" In a radically transparent move, he lays out the unspun truth. He explains the flashing hard drive lights, the keyloggers, the exact timeline of the hack. He doesn't lawyer up, he just asks the community for help in finding the hacker. And amazingly, the fans, who were totally furious about the delays just days prior, rally right to his side and start hunting for digital footprints.
But for 5 months, the trail is totally cold, until Axel does, quite literally, the most baffling thing imaginable. He emails Gabe Newell. He flat out confesses to the massive breach, provides internal company documents as proof, and inexplicably asks for a job, writing, "I'm no bad guy, just a little misguided," complete with a little smiley face. He genuinely thought his idol was going to fly him out and put him on the payroll, so Gabe Newell forwards that email directly to the FBI. On March 26th, Valve engineers conduct a fake 40-minute job interview over the phone with Axel, completely engineered by the FBI. Axel, super eager to impress them, confesses to every single technical detail of the hack. So the trap is set for an arrest at SeaTac Airport. They offer him an all-expenses-paid trip to Washington for an in-person interview, fully planning to arrest him the second he steps off the plane. But, plot twist, the FBI had to coordinate his travel visa with the German government, and Germany was absolutely livid about the U.S. trying to lure a citizen out of the country under false pretenses. So on May 7th, they preempt the FBI with a heavily armed police raid on Axel's bedroom. In a completely absurd mix-up, the police actually raised their rifles to his head while he was cutting a slice of bread because they thought he was the creator of the completely unrelated Sasserworm.
And you want to know the staggering irony of how this all ended? 2. Because Axel was arrested by German authorities rather than stepping off that plane onto American soil, he was tried under the German legal system, which heavily prioritizes rehabilitation over punishment. If he had gone to the U.S., he was looking at decades in federal prison. Instead, he got just 2 years of probation. 2 years probation for pulling off one of the most devastating corporate hacks of the early internet.
Which brings us to Part 5, rewriting the rulebook.
You see, the trauma of this massive leak didn't just hurt Valve, it literally forged the modern gaming industry as we know it. Before the hack, PC gaming relied entirely on traditional physical releases, shipping CDs in cardboard boxes. But the sheer panic of the source code leak forced Valve to accelerate a side project they were quietly building. That project was Steam. It was born directly out of the trauma of the leak as a desperate way to control the distribution pipeline and kill piracy through convenience and mandatory updates. So the very hack that almost destroyed Valve indirectly built the massive digital platform that dominates PC gaming worldwide today.
And beyond that, the Half-Life 2 leak handed the entire interactive entertainment industry a brutal reality check. It showed everyone just how incredibly vulnerable they all were. The strict network hygiene standards that every single studio operates under today, things like air-gapped build servers, multi-factor authentication, strict source code segmentation, obsessive email monitoring, almost all of it was forged in the panic that followed October 2nd, 2003. A 21-year-old kid basically handed the entire industry a $250 million lesson in security.
That single bedroom in the Black Forest didn't just leak a game, it forced an entire industry to rewrite its rules. It's a wild testament to how one misconfigured server and one really weak rabbit-themed password can completely change the course of digital history. Want to see another massive breach that totally broke the industry? Click the explainer on your screen right now to dive into the Nintendo R4, which is the closest thing the gaming industry has ever had to a hardware virus. Trust me, you absolutely do not want to miss how that one unraveled. I'll see you over there.